We've been able to see and finally break into the 3-pack. And this is most notably important, and I found this to be fun, that regardless of, for the past 3 months, if we take a look at any of our reports, we've been able to see a 64% growth spike for organic traffic. As far as the amount of keywords is concerned, we've gone up 76%. Absolutely phenomenal. And the cost of our traffic has gone up 62%. Now, along with this, if we take a look at our position distribution, we have literally, if you just take a look at this, like look at the difference here. I mean, we're seeing some massive spikes. This is usually when you see them come in here for this range, that means that's new keywords. So obviously, we're on the board for more keywords. We're on our way up. Now, what this video is about is we were able to break into the 3-pack because even all of this is great. We're on our way up. At the end of the day, a client and yourself really only has one thing in mind. Hey, the primary keyword for my business, which for this business, it's moving company quad cities or movers quad cities. The only thing you and this business owner care about is, am I in the 3-pack? So what I want to showcase is basically we've been able to break into the 3-pack. And if you look at my past videos, when I jumped on with this client, 2-3 weeks it's been, like 41 days total. You know, we were sitting at position 6, then we moved up to 4. Now we're finally into the 3-pack for the keywords that matter. So first, let's go ahead and report on those rankings. So let's head out here to Google. We're going to do moving company quad cities. All right, as you can see, we're into the 3-pack. We're also sitting at number 2 as far as our organic rankings for this keyword. And this was also pretty interesting. For these keywords, there's a lot of keywords, and I'm sure you've noticed this, that you might want, but they don't have the volume or the cost per click. Like, it's just not a valuable keyword. There's no traffic, and it's actually a funny thing when reporting or talking with a client. Like, you're not showing up for that keyword because we're not tuned for that. Yeah, but my competitor is. Yeah, they can have that keyword. Like keywords like, if we look for like, I don't know, movers in quad city, right? If we take a look up here, there's going to be Zilcho. And I remember he was like, yeah, but our guys are above us there. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that we're position 4, but you know, we were position 11, now we're position 4, but on top of that, that's not the keywords we're after. We're after movers, quad cities, right? Which has some volume, and it also has some cost per click. Now we're sitting in the 3-pack for movers, and it looks like we're number 4 for that particular keyword, but the main one that we were targeting, or at least I was targeting, was moving company, quad cities, which was the big Dundada. It has the biggest search volume. It's also the most expensive keyword. This is the one I really wanted to get into the 3-pack, and that's the purpose of this video. How did we do it? What did we do? What was the thinking? What was the setup of the site? Like, how did we get here? What did we do? I'm going to walk you through that. Let's not waste time, all right? So, of course, we were able to break into there. We're sitting at number 2 for the big one that we wanted. So, let me go ahead and walk through some of this stuff with you. What was some of the thinking? What were we doing? And first and foremost, let me go ahead and showcase this. So if we come over here to the listing, now I did this live about 2 weeks ago. All right. So one of the first things was we were not synced with Bing Places. So I synced with Bing Places. So if you're making a tally list, or you know what, better yet, let me make a tally list. So what did we do? SYNC with Bing Places, okay? 2 is we optimized the listing. All right, now let's talk about that. Like, well, what do you mean, Chris? Well, let me walk you through that. So first and foremost, for optimization of the listing was coming up with at least a semi or a consistent posting schedule. All right, so we had a regular posting schedule that I wanted to implement, or at least show some activity within the post. I'm not saying that this is a direct signal, but I think it's secondary It shows interest, it gets views, it gets watches. It's part of the process. Secondly, as far as optimization is concerned, so I guess we could put that optimized listing in 3, posting S schedule, probably spelled that wrong. Let's just put sched with a space. How about that? So moving down the list. Now, my particular client, this client, or if yourself, if you have all these different categories, it's very hard for Google to decipher what you're about. When I first got in here, there was 4. And I'm like, wait, you do moving and you're a storage company. Also, moving is kind of synonymous with storage, self-storage, climate storage, and also junk removal, in case you didn't know. So I knew that targeting the biggest keyword primarily and making it prominent, and we're going to talk about that in a second, would also bring in a lot of those related searches. All right. And also it's in the business name. I wanted to be heavily optimized for this because when we spoke, what's your biggest business? What do you do the most of? What are you focused on? It's moving. All right, good. That's what we're hyper focused on. Next, service areas were absolutely stuffed. Now, when I went in here for this business, it's a unique cause because Quad City is actually made up of 4 different cities, hence the name Quad Cities. Now, when you search for Quad Cities, there's a particular town, which was where we have our verified listing, that's synonymous with Quad Cities. This is called Davenport. So what I knew was, instead of like targeting that or trying to get near that, what I wanted to do was, here, let's come back over here. I knew that, hey, our service area, Davenport, is synonymous with Quad Cities. So that's why I made the service area Quad Cities. So wherever you are, whatever your business is, that's your service area. Like, don't go crazy far, because if you're looking at a GeoGrid, all right, if you're utilizing this type of technology to track your rankings or do whatever, what you're going to find is generally within 6 to 10 miles is going to be your best. So by putting them inside of your listing is not going to allow you to rank farther. However, getting traffic from these areas, creating press releases or creating anchor text on other sites talking about these areas, getting traffics and clicks by searches of, say, Moline, Illinois, which is in the Quad Cities, moving company Horizon. Getting that search done. Now, this will help me start ranking in these areas, not shoving them into service area, okay? Next, of obviously filling these details out, also stacking up services and products. As far as he didn't want the products in there, he wanted services, so I had to go in and edit it. That was a client. He said, hey, I just want the services. I have to oblige by these types of things, but usually I'm going to do a product service stack of them both, but instead we just went in here and took care of this for both. And then this is literally corresponding or mirroring over to the website. This is part of the optimization. Our services, moving company, that's our primary. These particular words and phrases are mirroring over to the site for our services. Again, Google is looking. You know, some people might say they're just misinformed, that there's no correlation between the website and the Google My Business rankings. This I do not, I don't recommend. I think 1,000% there is, especially if you have a website that's connected. Generally there is. So if you take a look at the terminology that's within my, inside of my navigation, and then also down here in my footer navigation, the terminology is the same, and this is going to mirror over to my Google My Business listing. As you can see, my services are mirroring. As far as secondary optimizations, I wanted to fill this stuff out with the health and safety, especially now with the new virus regulations and these types of things. I wanted to make sure that that was in place, you know, getting the appointments, the cleaning the hands, all this kind of stuff. Along with that, our service options, and then filling out any of that secondary stuff, like, you know, business attributes and all that stuff. Like I went in and took care of that. And then adding the variations. So if I'm a moving company, so that's movers, moving, and take a look in here. You can see that I used all the variations and used the primaries that were most important to me. Quite notably, the same terminology that's on the website. Now, to squash this thing about there's no correlation between the website and ranking for the Google My Business. Let's go ahead and squash that now, just so you can start getting better optimizations and I could get you on the right track here. So if we search for something like movers quad city, okay? Now we're not going to look at my listing, but I know that this one will pop it for me. If we take a look here, the reason why, and remember, Google puts things in bold to show how relevant a result is. It's picking out a word and saying, hey, if you look at down the list, they're pulling this, like, look how relevant the result is, and they're making it bold, is because this website is mentioning this word, okay? That's why they're saying that, like, hey, this is here because of this, okay? I want you to understand that. So if you take a look at this, they've even, not only are they making it bold to showcase that, but they're also putting their website mentions quad cities movers, all right? So making this a relevant result for the map pack. It's plain as day. Their website mentions, here it is. There's a direct correlation. It's blatantly obvious. Google is showing it to us, okay? So that puts that into perspective, and this is why we want to match and mirror, all right? What I'm showing Google is, and what is exactly what I'm showing users. Always, always, always. We want to be transparent. We want to be trust. We want to be the authority. Moving on. So let's keep rolling here. So that was optimization of that listing, all right? I talked about the optimization, description, posting schedule, match and mirroring products and services, you know, optimizing my location, optimizing the service that I'm providing, the primary category. I also made sure that my listing, I wanted to change the name. He said that's his registered name. I went and checked, maybe not so much, but that's what he wants. I would have took care of the name too, but he wanted to keep it just like that. Now, let's talk about the site and why we were doing this. Now, please note, the primary category is moving company. We know that one of the factors to build authority on a site is the amount of pages, okay? Now, if we could have a multiple amount of pages repeating the same thing, then our site must be about that thing, right? So if we know we're building the site bigger, we know that that's building authority. And then secondly, the titles and the URLs of those pages are containing a specific keyword that also matches our primary category. What is our site about and what are we going to start ranking for? So I'm a moving company. What am I going to go in and do? Well, I'm going to go in and create all my pages. So I go in and create 30 new pages that weren't there. And what am I going to make them say? I'm going to make them say moving company. You know it. That's right. Exactly. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So as you can see, we made a top level category page. Okay. Also a placeholder if we're looking at the parent-child relationship. We made a placeholder page, which is our locations page, and the locations page is called moving company. Now this way, every single locale page is going to contain moving company, which of course is our primary category. All right, makes sense. We're building authority based on our primary category. Get it? Okay, let's keep going. Now, as far as reviews, I went in there and I took care of all there was only 2 that he unanswered. That's not that big of a deal. Let's talk about photos. You know, I went in here and I want you to just see, I mean, we really, not only by the owner, we added some, by the customer, we did the exterior, I blasted it. Like, I really went in here and added a lot of photos. Now, as far as the photos are concerned, no, I did not waste my time adding extra details. They're going to be stripped. However, I did name them, like the title of the image and all that stuff. Like, I did take care of that. All right. Now, also, these are the same exact images that I'm going to be using on the site. This is a fast way to get them indexed. Google knows what they are. They know who they belong to, and then they're going to be utilized on the site. Okay? So I create the photos. The title of the photo is based on specific keywords. So storage facility, storage container, portable storage, long distance mover, long distance moving. Get it? I upload them all into Google My Business. Now it's correlated. Here's the keyword. Here's the company that it was. Now I know they're indexed. They belong to me. And then I'm also going to use them on the website. It just adds, and I'm going to use the same exact titles, the same exact words, the same exact terminology. Get what I'm saying here? Very smart to do it this way. Upload your images that you're going to utilize on yours or your client's site into GMB. Let it correspond, let Google understand what the image is and who it belongs to and why it's there and what it's for. You'll get faster indexation. It'll work better. It'll just add more authority. It's just 1,000% better. Let's move on. So these are some of the things that I've done. I just want to mention this to you. We talked about that, the website. Oh, website. Take note of this. So I shared this in a previous video. There's a couple key elements on here. If you're not doing, Google is being pretty obvious, all right? They're showing us, hey, they want a directions tab on here. They want it to be blatantly obvious. They want to have the map on here. They want you to showcase reviews on your page, right? So here's your blueprint of some of the ways they want you to set things up. And I take a lot of note from this. I also set this up and I made it quite notably my brand name. This is just, I'm not saying that this is anything, but if they're going to give you a site, use it, all right? So this was another element. Now that we've talked about GMB optimization, we talked about some we talked about a good structure for the site to be GMB optimized. Okay, that's what I was showing there, all right? I know it was the website, but it's a direct correlation. It needs to be set up a certain way, all right? Now, I'm sure I could have done a few things better. I'm sure there was a lot of things that I did well, some things that might have been able to do better, but for the most part, we're very well tuned here, all right? Especially for moving company, all right? Now, let's talk about some off-page stuff. Now, obviously, when we first initially set out, we set up our Google My Business, and we also set up Google and synced it to Bing Places. I also set up a press release campaign and started driving traffic through that. And I'll just give you one example of one of those, which is here, all right? If you take a look at this particular press release, obviously we have our imagery and we have the press release that I had I think Eric wrote that. That's just a good friend of mine. He's like my best friend forever. I think Eric wrote this one. It looks like an Eric job, not too long. And then the big piece or the big tip today for the movement was this particular map right here. Okay, this particular map was put into these to initiate particular searches from a press release, started at a query through a press release to drive to a map to initiate one of 3 different things that are drivers. So one of 3. So meaning it's either going to be a directional request, which is the lowest on the list. It's going to be a phone call. We also send to phone. That's almost every single time. And then most notably and almost the most important is a click over to the website. All right. Once on the website, they were directed to initiate into the very first element, which was right here, all right, and fill out the form. And take their time filling out the form. And the form fill out was the verification that they did as they were requested, all right? I know I teach another way, but I started doing it. I started running it this way. And if you're here during this live, I just gave you a big tip, all right? So we're initiating from a press release, running traffic through a press release. Not this one. I'm just showing this one. This is one of like 140 that I put out with varying titles, which is hard to do. You have to have your own list to do that. With, a couple I got like this. Driving traffic through the press release based on a search, a related search to the main phrase, running traffic to the press release, through the press release, to the page to fill out the form. Once the form was submitted, then this is a verified entry and I'll pay you for your micro work. Okay? Now, the result on this was pretty significant. We went from 6 to the 3-pack. Okay? So I broke down a lot of what I did. From, my design stinks, but my SEO is on point. There's still some work, and we're probably going to do that right now because I still have to fill out some of these things. My main focus when we got together was moving company Quad Cities. It took me 3 weeks. We're there, and we're in the 3-pack. I did my job. I did my job. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, that's what I was aiming for. I'm really happy so far. I think the same title. Let me go see here quick. I actually got picked up on Market Watch, which I thought was kind of interesting for a moving company. Usually, like, I have a pretty big list that I'll distribute to, right? And different companies will pick it up, right? So you can see that this first blast, here's Market Watch. Check it out. So I sent it to Market Watch, but usually Market Watch doesn't take non-digital. Like, here's the same, I think there's what, 2 or 3 of them that are marked like this. Yeah, but in any case, I thought this was fun. So this is a press release. This is one that I got picked up, was it the same day, April 12th? Let me see here. Does this one not say? Yeah, the 12th. Okay. So that was the 12th. But I thought that this was pretty cool, though, because I sent it to them. I didn't think in a million years that they would do it. But I got it. I got it, though. And this is a do follow link. If you come down here, this is a pretty big, it's a pretty good link. I think guys sell this link. This is a $40 link, you know, just this one link. But in any case, this is a press release. All right. And this is a digital site talking about a moving company, which is funny to me that they took it. Whatever. They must not even care anymore. I think that's so weird. But this is a press release. And then as far as the embed on the site, so it's not that it's embedded on the site. Like if you come over here to the, like, say, contact page, all right? The contact page, all right, is going to have that same map that's over here, right? My contact page has an embed. My contact page has an embed. And I also have a directional button because Google asks for it, linking out to my directions. And then each of my locations pages are going to have a directions, right? I'm going to embed a map. I didn't do that yet, but we're going to do it together as soon as I answer these questions. We're going to embed the directional map into the page. So it's not just a basic map, it's a directional map, okay? But that has nothing to do with the press release. The press release is here with a map embed in it to simply drive traffic through it. Speaking of, did they give me a map on here? No way. Did they? No. Oh yeah, I didn't think so. That would have been cool. I would have really liked that. Anyway, with that being said, these press releases are set up like this for a particular reason, especially, and take note of a very large title. Most of the time when people create their press releases, this is a big tip for you guys. They're going to put their main keyword in there because they want to target. I want to make it extra large because this is what's going to get indexed. When you come over here, you know, that whole title, that whole piece, whatever you submit, this was only one press release that I put out. I put out 2. I'm showing you one type. You want there to be multiple keywords in there, so when you're having your micro workers or you're running a campaign doing searches, you want to be able to show up for multiple variations and related search terms, because again, you want to be found based on the same types of keywords that your leading competitors are. Your leading competition is ranking for your biggest keyword, not because people are searching for the biggest keyword and clicking, but it's all the other words. I hope that makes sense to you. I talked about this in my training. You know, you'll look like, yeah, they're ranking for the big keyword, but they're getting traffic for all these other keywords. So when I'm running traffic to a property, I need to be able to run traffic coming from all over, especially if I want to rank for the main keyword. So with that being said, if I'm doing a particular search term, the press release is going to show up. It's going to show up above my website always, especially like a Market Watch or this site, like, because it has a lot more authority. It'll show up, they'll do a search, they're going to click over to the map It's just a way to be found to start a session for a particular search term. They find the press release, they go to the press release, they read it, they click on the map, they go to the map, and they head right over to the website. This is all within one session. Now they're on the website. They're told to go over here, go to the contact page, fill out the contact, which is tracked. Okay? Fill out this form, and then they can end their session. Usually they're going to end it by going to Amazon. They can end it by going to eBay. They can even end it by going to wikipedia.org. Okay? Any authority. All right. Anyway. So I hope that answers your question. All right, buffer sites. Okay. So what's a buffer site? So this is a buffer site. Or I'm not saying that this is a done product. I'm just saying this is kind of what they are, okay? All right, so let's take a look and let me see if I can find some of these.